Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video is going to show the fastest fully upgraded vehicles from the GTA Online Drug Wars DLC in terms of lap time and top speed. This video lists all vehicles added on day 1 of the Drug Wars DLC. For any drip feed cars added after that, other classes of cars because I've tested them all, and all the information you need about this series, check the playlist linked in the second line of the description, and feel free to check out my Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want to support this work and get testing results of any new cars a little bit early. So first up we've got, probably as expected, the two slowest vehicles with the Journey 2 and Surfer Custom. They actually use the handling data from the regular Journey and the regular Surfer, so the only difference between them is upgrades. Those upgrades are enough to give the Journey 2 a 5 mph and 1 position in the Vans class advantage over the stock Journey, and the Surfer Custom a 2.5 mph and 1 position in the Vans class improvement over the regular Surfer. Not an awful lot to write home about really. For lap time, the Surfer is the slowest fully upgradable vehicle in the game, and the Surfer Custom becomes the second slowest fully upgradable vehicle in the game. Other than the extra customization of the Surfer Custom over the Surfer, and the fact that the Journey 2 can actually be stored in a garage as opposed to the regular Journey, which is a Pegasus vehicle, they're largely the same as their original counterparts, just a small bit quicker, but obviously still quite slow. So next up we've got the Tulip M100, and it's basically 4 mph faster than the regular Tulip in terms of top speed. It's a strange one to drive since it feels pretty quick and like it has good grip, but it also breaks traction really easily, and the lap time is ultimately fairly mediocre. It's very difficult to carry speed in the corners when it just breaks traction so easily. Unlike the next car, the Tahoma Coupe, which technically isn't a day 1 car, but since it was released a few days after the DLC dropped, I was able to put it in this video with the rest. And despite it not getting a spoiler upgrade like the Tulip and being 4 mph down on top speed, the Tahoma actually is quicker than the Tulip for lap time. It's just so much more stable and consistent and able to carry better speed in the corners, possibly because, unlike the Tulip, it benefits from the lower suspension improving grip. Neither of these muscle cars are going to be doing anything competitive in the class though. In third place for the DLC we've got the 300R, which has a pretty much bang on average top speed for sports cars of 120 mph and a fairly average lap time for a sports car as well. It's really nice to drive even if it's fairly average in terms of sports car performance. It's very stable and just a nice solid driving experience, and certainly, you know, worth buying if that's just the sort of thing that you're looking for and you're not always looking for a class topper. The same can't be said for our next car though, the Entity MT. The Entity MT is basically just a copy-paste job of the Entity XXR, and what I mean by that is Rockstar has taken the handling file for the XXR, used it as a base for the MT, changed a few numbers and shipped it. It has all the horrible advanced flags that haven't been on cars for a long time now but were first introduced infamously with the XXR, and it's terrible to drive with the engine revving all over the place. It's not that quick either, coming in significantly slower than the original 2013 Entity XF, which costs a third of the price of the MT. When it comes to the HSW version of the MT, obviously it's the quickest for this DLC, and honestly it takes an HSW upgrade for the MT to be quicker than the original XF, but at that point they might as well have just given the original Entity XF the HSW upgrade anyway. It would have been a much nicer drive, much quicker than the mediocre lap time that the MT gets even for an HSW car, and it would have breathed some new life into an old car. I really preferred HSW cars being applied to older cars like we saw with the Banshee, rather than coming with new ones. The HSW MT is the slowest of all the HSW supercars for lap time, just barely makes it into the top 20 for the class overall, and while you do get a decent top speed that you'd expect from an HSW car, and the MT even has a decent top speed when not HSW upgraded, even that's not particularly impressive given that there's many cars in sports, muscle and sports classics classes that have higher top speeds than the MT. And remember that the advanced flags on this car, and the XXR and all the others that actually have them, they slow down the car when you hit any bump or curb, so you can only reach the top speeds that you've seen in this video when the Entity MT is on flat roads. In the city, it's going to be going slower, while all other cars will naturally be just curb boosting on random bumps and getting even higher speeds. Just don't waste your money on this trash car, it's absolutely ridiculous. And sorry for the rant, I think it got to me more than normal because I just retested the XXR and it actually went a few tenths slower after all the recent changes to the over-rev flag, and it reminded me how awful it is to drive. And then I retested the Entity XF and it went around half a second quicker. Now that's gonna happen just with my retesting, as you know, my testing over the years has gotten more refined and more robust, and it's been a long time since I tested the Entity XF. But I was then reminded how good cars can be. 2013 cars without any advanced flags or complications, just simple stuff, and they still drive wonderfully, much better than a lot of cars at it now. And then I had to go back after having retested the XF and realising how good cars can be. I had to then go and experience the Entity MT, which is basically just a slightly faster version of the XXR, but an almost identical driving experience. And the worst thing is that we all thought we were done with these awful advanced flags. You know, they haven't included them on cars for a long time. They obviously put them on a load of cars at one point, but then after all the backlash, they haven't done it since. And it's only because they copy pasted the XXR handling that they're back, and it's absolutely infuriating, especially when the much better XF is right there that they could have based a new entity on instead. They could have just copy pasted the Entity XF handling file for the MT, and honestly given the XF the HSW upgrades. That would have been much more interesting. So yeah, the MT is one of the bigger disappointments of vehicles that we've had for a long time, I think. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say when it comes to the cars. One final thing I want to touch on is this new style of videos. Basically, I'm testing a few things, and I have been testing a few things in these testing videos over the last few months. You might have seen, obviously, with the sort of single vehicle lap time videos, they've been showing the lap time and then the top speed for the vehicle, and I haven't been doing separate top speed videos. It's all been kind of in preparation and doing some testing for the new series, which will be coming out at some point once I've sort of gotten everything together. But I'm trying to find a way to the best way to display lap time and top speed in the same video. Now, the way that I was doing it in those single videos, single car sort of updates, is, you know, that's one way you can do it, where you can show the lap time first and then the top speed. But I thought it's gonna, you know, you're not gonna see much of the cars in that way, because I'm gonna have to, especially when it comes to full class specific videos, I'm gonna have to go through them very quickly, because there's nearly 100 cars in the sports class now, for example. So I thought maybe it would be better to put them together like this, where they're side by side, lap time on one side, top speed on the other side, shows the position within their classes as well, and you can see it all in one go. The only downside of that, obviously, is that, you know, you get sort of half of the size of the footage, so you're not seeing the lap time or the top speed in full view. My question is whether that actually matters, and if you could leave a comment down below just letting me know what you thought about this style of doing it, because like I said, I'm just trying to find ways to, I want to include the lap time and the top speed in the new testing series going forward when I get to finally doing it. We're just sort of, you know, in a bit of a holding pattern at the minute, and that's why they're going into this series, but I want to include them both in the same video, and I'm just trying to find out the best way to do it. And if you've got any other ideas, feel free to let me know. But what do you think specifically about this style, where you're seeing lap time on one side, top speed on the left, both together? Just let me know. I'd really be appreciative of any kind of feedback you have for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Obviously, I will be continuing to test all the new DLC vehicles as they come, and stay subscribed and all that good stuff for all of that. Consider supporting on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want testing results early, and remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, and subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.